Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. And today we have some big changes coming into Destiny 2 with the release of Lightfall. So first they talk about loadouts and how it will work. Loadouts is going to be about being able to swap all your gear and mods around with a single click or press of a button without having to move armor mods around in your gear and weapons. This makes it so much easier to swap between different builds in the game so you don't spend all the time moving mods around on your character. You'll be able to unlock 10 loadout slots through the Guardian rank system, but in this picture the character only has 6 unlocked out of the 10. You will be able to name these loadouts and also give them icons from various icons in the game for easier identification. Next, they talk about mods in the current game and how they will change moving forward. So first off, they start by saying that not all the builds that are in the game pre-Lightfall launch are going to be possible in the game once Lightfall launches, and we will have some new mods to mess around with when the new mods and the system launches. While some mods are going to be changed or removed, that there are still a healthy amount of stuff to play around with, and we'll expand on them season over season. Next, they give us some previews of how the new mod customization screen will look like. The new mod customization screen looks similar to the character appearance customization screen. You'll be able to see all the mods and currently applied mods and how they affect your character stats all in one screen. Another thing to note is that in this picture they show that you can swap between armor and weapons by switching in between tabs rather than backing in and out of your armor and weapons to edit them. And you can also see the applied mods currently on all your armor. They talk about how you can unlock mods in a variety of ways, but that for the big and Buildcrafting mods, you mostly had to wait for 801 to sell them. So they say that they wanted to remove the waiting and make mods have a clear unlock path. They go a little into detail saying that once you get to Guardian rank 6, you will unlock all mods. They do go and say that those who have been playing the game will most likely already be Guardian rank 6 as soon as Lightfall launches, but for the newer players, you'll have to get up to rank 6. They next talk about how mod energy types are being removed. Currently, there are some mods in the game where if your armor does not have the same energy type as a mod that needs that same energy type, then you will not be able to use that mod. You'll have to change the armor type of your armor to be able to use certain mods. Now that is completely gone. This will allow players to no longer have to grind for armor for 4 different types for certain mods that they will need for a build. The mods that would go into that slot are the combat style mod socket, but since they're getting rid of the energy types for mods and armor, then that means that the combat style socket mod will just be turned into an additional mod socket. With that change, they are also reducing the energy cost of many of those mods so that we have more of an option to slot extra mods to mix and match with. The loader mods are now being changed to instead include weapons of a certain damage type. So that means that if you're going into an activity with void weapons, you can now put on the new void weapon mod to provide benefits to all your void weapons in your loadout, and this will work with the other types as well. Another big change is going to be the seasonal artifacts. We are going to be going back to the only unlock 12 system again. But instead of the artifact being mod unlocks, it is now passive perk unlocks. That means you can pick 12 of the perks in the artifact, and once you unlock them, they are active. You do not need to put them into your armor or anything. They are passive perks now that are always active. That being said, if you want to use other perks, then you will have to reset your artifact and pick the ones you want instead, but resetting your artifact is now free. So now we can unlock all the champion mods and we can run a variety of weapons without having to slot mods in our armor. We can pretty much run anti-barrier pulse, overload SMG, and unstoppable grenade launcher in a single loadout. Artifice armor is something to consider when making all these changes, and now Artifice armor will have a new unique mod slot that grants 3 additional points to one of your character stats, which can help round out a stat that is near to the next tier. Another thing they are going to get rid of in high-end content is the match game modifier, which is a huge limiting modifier that was in the game for a lot of loadouts. With this change, they are now making shields resistance to non-matching damage types across the whole game to 50%, which is how enemies in Gambit function. We will have other ways to deal with shields, but that is going to be announced at a later date. Another addition is that our subclasses will also be getting additional ways to deal with champions. Barrier champions will be able to get stunned by Solar, Void, and Strand. Volatile rounds and players who have Radiant active will be able to damage anti-barrier champions through their shields, and Strand will also have a way to stun. Overload will be able to get stunned by Arc, Stasis, and Void, triggering the Jolted status. Suppressing a champion and slowing a champion will stun the Overload champions. Unstoppable champions will be able to get stunned by Arc, Solar, Stasis, and Strand. Blinding, freezing, and then shattering, and triggering a solar ignition will stun unstoppable champions. And Strand will also have a way. We do not yet know how Strand can stun champions, so we'll have to wait and see. Since combat mods are going away, Charge with Light and Elemental Well mods will now fall into a different system called Armor Charge, and move to armor slot specific sockets. To use the armor charge system, you'll have to socket an armor with a mod that uses the system to gain access. Once you have an armor charge mod on and have access to the system, you will now have the functionality of taking charge, which is the current mod that allows us to pick up an orb of power to get charged with light. Many of the mods that create elemental wells or give stacks of charge with light have now been converted to create orbs of power instead. We can hold 0 to 3 stacks of armor charge by default, which will still show up as a buff on our screen. You can socket a chest armor mod called Charged Up to increase the charges by up to 6. There are also some mods that will give you a passive ongoing buff while you have stacks of armor charge. But if you have one of these mods equipped, then your armor charge will go down by 1 every 10 seconds if not consumed by some other mods that use the charges. There will also be a mod that extends that timer that is in the class item mod socket. One example given was Font of Wisdom mod in the head socket. Will provide a bonus gain to intellect while you have a stack of armor charge active. There are other mods that consume 1, 2, 3, or all stacks of armor charge on a single trigger, granting an instantaneous benefit. Other mods like Stacks on Stacks, Powerful Friends, and Radiant Light can modify the armor charge system for you without providing you with a specific benefit while you have armor charge. Lastly, finishers will consume armor charges instead of taking super energy. So since elemental wells are changing to create orbs of power instead, some of their aspects aren't going away entirely. Instead of making the wells, they will create damage type specific objects. Arc will create ionic traces, Solar will create fire sprites, Void will create void breaches, Stasis shards will be used for stasis, and Strand will also have one. We will have to just wait and see. To create these objects, they will not come from mods, but instead from subclasses instead. An example given is with the Ember of Tempering fragment for Solar Hunters. Killing a target with a solar weapon will now create a fire sprite. Picking up these objects will give ability, energy, or other effects depending on the build. Another example given is with the Ember of Mercy fragment for Solar, where picking up a fire sprite will grant you restoration. The number of these effects will be limited at launch, probably to prevent any overpowered builds, but that they will add to this system moving forward. While the main goals of this whole rework was to streamline the build crafting in the game, they also took this as a chance to balance out all the other build combinations in the game. They looked at every single mod and some were changed, moved to other slots, transitioned to other abilities, or removed completely. They said that with the removal of armor energy types and the addition of armor charge, some mods became redundant and were removed. With that in mind, some ability energy gains, stat bonuses, and weapon damage bonuses from mods have also been reduced. One of the mods that are not going to be moving forward with these changes are Warmind cells, as they are a relic of the past and have already been nerfed in the past. So Warmind cells, as soon as Lightfall launches, will be gone forever, which is a shame because they were the very first mods to ever introduced to us the combat style mods that came after it, like the elemental wells and charged with light. I did make a video about which vendors are important to visit in the tower, and Ada 1 was one of them, but I guess this whole brand new change they're making to the build crafting makes her less important. I guess all she's going to be in the tower for is for ornamenting your armor, or transmog for a more familiar term. Overall, I like a lot of these changes, but of course, since this whole new approach to build crafting is pretty much a whole new rework, I'm still left wondering if this new system will be better or not than the current way we build craft. We will just have to get our hands on this new system to find out, but go ahead and let me know what you guys think about these changes, and I will see you guys in the next video.